Hey guys, it's Pig here, and we're going to look at the new maps. Let's point out the fact that I don't think I really have any strong opinions on maps until we've actually had a chance to play on them for a few weeks. I'm very unsure of what's good and bad on maps. I think there's nothing that's set in stone. I think StarCraft's a very flexible game, but obviously there are certain things you don't want to make things too uncomfortable for players. So we're just going to kind of look through the maps. There's a whole bunch of new maps, 6 new maps, in fact, that we're only keeping Catalyst. I woke up this morning, people were crying on Twitter, sorry, not crying, complaining, saying, look, the worst maps got picked out of the TL map contest. We saw bad games on these maps. These are not the maps that should have been picked. There were people saying there's a map in here somewhere, I can't remember who it was. Someone was tweeting saying there's a map that's a carbon copy of Catalyst. We shouldn't have 2 Catalysts in one map pool. There was a bit of anger. So as soon as I woke up this morning, I was reading Twitter. I was like, oh shit, people aren't too happy, or at least a few aren't. So let's take a look at the maps, and I'm just going to give my first impressions. I know I do a lot of these low effort videos lately, but it's only a few weeks in that I actually start having any serious thoughts. So Sandals, thank you for the tier 1 sub, dude. We're just going to do this here live on the stream. So the first map is Lost and Found. Now, I'm going to actually just make this slightly smaller so I can kind of fit the whole thing in one page. So we don't have the spawn locations marked on this. That's a mistake. This will be the spawn, clearly though, because obviously we're not going to have a giant ramp like that into the main. So you're going to spawn bottom left, top right, 2-player map. Oh, there was also people pissed off about the 4-player map. We'll get to that when we get there. So 2-player map, you come down to your natural. You've got your third there, which is obviously a bit closer to your opponent. And if your opponent kind of can push there, pick up and drop medevacs in there, or same thing in PvZ with overlords with roaches and hydras. Or you can expand in a straight line along the edge, which I think would be the more standard, since it seems, I think, a little bit easier to get there. Now we've got a narrow path through here, but those rocks can be taken down to make that a big path in. And this area here could behave a lot like Blackpink. Now you guys know in Blackpink, that area outside between your natural and third, we see it in Protoss vs. Protoss. Archon, Chargelord, Immortal, whoever gets the concave in that area totally dicks the other player. We may see that sort of situation here, but what I think alleviates that is that this ramp is a little bit wider than that Blackpink ramp, by the looks of it. So I don't think it'll be quite as brutal as that. And I think this should become a more interesting place where if your army gets trapped down here defending your third, you can still poke up and down your ramp without getting sandwiched into a tiny choke. So that's going to be cool. In terms of paths across, I mean, I guess that's your third. Your fourth, if you take it in line, is way up in the corner. So a lot of people are probably going to go third there, fourth there, and maybe even fifth there, depending on how they prefer to do it. Some people like to expand in a long straight line right up against the edge of the map. It allows you to have a more simple defense in terms of your main army can be up here, your drop squad to defend can be down here, something like that, right? In terms of paths across the map, you're going to go, or are we going to go, maybe you'd go like through there or something, or through here, I don't know, something like this. Okay, interesting. In terms of the terrain in the middle of the map, we've got some low ground. So you don't want to get your army stuck down there. In TVT, this is going to create siege tanks on either side of this area. Just like on Backwater, if you manage to get sieged up on their side of the low ground, you know, it's going to be a big advantage. There's a good amount of area around the edges to work around, though. That makes me happy. Unlike, like I feel like Backwater kind of, the low ground covers the entire middle of the map. In this case, you've got more area around the edges. So I feel like this map just looks like a pretty straightforward 2-player map. Nothing crazy. Lost and Found gets a thumbs up from me for now. You guys, obviously, this is interactive. If you think a map's shit, let me know in chat. Was that Lost and Found? Yeah, that was Lost and Found. This is 16-bit. So this is a taller map. Let me zoom out just a little bit more. Can we fit it? Can we fit it? We can just fit it. Okay, so once again, bottom left, top right, 2-player spawn. Looks like a pretty cool style. You know, red on one side and blue on the other. That's cute. Here's your main. Big main with an in-base natural. So this is going to be the macro map of the pool. This is, of course, replacing Neon Violet Square, a map which I personally don't like just because I don't like macro maps. I find macro maps with free bases that you get fully protected a little bit dull, a little bit boring. So let's analyze this map and see if it's maybe a little bit more exposed. I mean, I kind of like that even though it is a free expansion, it's not quite like Neon Violet where it's tucked behind your main base, which I always felt was such an easy third. This one is still droppable, right? It's still harassable by Liberators and Banshees and all that sort of stuff. So basically natural third base, you can get a fourth right close to your third. Really easy to get out to 4, 5, 6 bases, right? Middle of the map, you've got, once again, another low ground feature in the middle of the map. We're seeing these a lot, these low ground features, interesting. So you're going to kind of come across here to rush each other. You go through, those are sight blockers in the middle. You go, whoop. It's not the craziest rush distance. So I kind of like a macro map that looks like, oh, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. That might actually be a pretty long rush distance. I'll have to play on it to see. People are saying swarm hosts throwing over this ledge will wreck it. Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true, guys. People are saying, yeah, we like Lost and Found. We think it's good. People are saying 16-bit is shit. It's bad. We don't like it. Okay, so some people not liking it. Personally, I don't know. It just looks like a straightforward macro map, guys. You know, these maps tend towards playing supreme all-ins because your opponents tend to be greedy, or you play very greedy. If you play very greedy, the trick is scouting your opponent. That's the hard thing because it's very hard to scout in the back of their base. So often doing things like drops, prism harass, or getting overlord speed, or just sacrificing overlords to try and see what's going on is really useful. What you're going to notice is because it's such a big main, it's hard to get an overlord in the back of the main. So we're going to see Protoss players especially doing some very cheeky builds and potentially range Liberators from Terran to siege up. So say you got a Terran player, you hide the Fusion Core in the back corner of your base. You're always going to kill an overlord before it gets there. And then you can obviously maybe siege up these bases, the natural and the third with those ranged Liberators. Fourth base wouldn't really... this fourth base would be maybe a little exposed to Liberators as well. Hard to tell how powerful those Liberators would be, but something to look out for. I mean, it's always the same with macro maps, guys. You either cheese really hard or you macro really hard. Very rarely is it somewhere in between. ISV Pursuit, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Thanks for hanging out, Trev. Appreciate it, dude. Okay, what's this map called? Red Shift. I believe this is the map people said was like Catalyst. Doesn't really look like Catalyst. So you'll notice you spawn in the bottom left and the top left. So this is kind of got that weird flow. Now you've got a small ramp. Oh, this is the rush map. Okay, so you've got a narrow ramp with destructible rocks on it and a path that goes... Oh, gold bases. Okay, guys. I don't think you can get through the gold base. I think you can't actually get through here to each other's gold base expansions, but it's very easy to instead send units around. And if you control this watchtower and this area, you can obviously siege that gold base. So the gold bases are incredibly high risk, high reward on this map. Like ridiculously high risk, high reward. This is the Biogenesis map, guys. This is the rush map for sure. So this will be replacing a Biogenesis. Those gold bases, no one's going to take. This is like, you guys thought, what was that sick map? Boardwalk. I always call it Boardwalk Empire, but it's just called, it was just Battle for the Boardwalk, I think it was called. I love that map. I think that was a really cool high risk, high reward gold base. This one's even more high risk and the same reward. I don't know if many people are going to take this gold base. I want to see people try and do it. I think it'll be really cool if you pull it off, but it's a bit of a crazy style. So if you just expand normally though, you've got main, natural, third, fourth, and the rush distance is like not that close. So is this even the rush map? I don't even know. I feel like as long as those minerals are up, because I don't think you can rush through here until the minerals mine out. If you mine out the minerals, then the path opens up. Then that's going to be really cool. People are saying Boardwalk sucked. I loved Boardwalk. Every rush map I go into, I say I'm not going to play standard. I don't care if I win or lose. I'm just going to play to the style of the map. But this one, I feel like the rush distance is not that close. So maybe you can just play standard macro on this map. People are saying it's a Terran map. I mean, there's definitely some nice ledges and choke points to siege up tanks around and all that sort of stuff. In terms of distance, yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like it's very far. Like natural to natural actually is probably not very far. So yeah, it's still a rush map. But I think you could get away with some standard styles here. So far, I like 16-bit. The gold base is cute. I don't think the watchtower needs to be there. I think the watchtower should be completely removed from this side. Because if you're already holding this position, I think it already gives you enough of an advantage. You don't need a watchtower. This watchtower, on the other hand, really cool. I feel like the watchtower there just makes it a little bit more, I don't know, if you hold the watchtower, you spot drops coming through and air harass like so easily. So I guess that's an interesting point of contention, right? Whoever controls that can see drops coming into their back door towards their main base. Interesting map. I don't mind it. I don't particularly love it either. I don't know. I'll have to really see how Redshift plays out. Darkness Sanctuary. So I mentioned that other map was the macro map before, but this map looks big and it looks like it has a ton of bases on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bases per side. That's a 16 base map. That is a lot of bases, guys. Holy crap. It's a 4-player map as well, and you'll notice it has rotational symmetry. So I imagine all 4 spawns are enabled. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. The thing is, the problem with 4-player maps in Legacy of the Void is very simple. It's very straightforward. Let me just get my tip goal out of the way. Sorry, guys. I know that's like blocking it a little bit. It's the fact that the game starts so quickly. So people who like to scout Protoss against Zerg, very important. Anyone versus random. The game starts so early. In Heart of the Swarm or Wings of Liberty, you could send one of your first 6 workers or your 7th or 8th worker, get over there and scout before any build decisions were made. You could choose to make that commitment. You can't do that. It's an unfortunate side effect of the sped up early game with the 12 worker start. Therefore, it could create problems on this map where you're a Protoss player, you're spawning here. You decide to scout this way. Your probe goes, oh, he's not here. He's not here. Oh, there's Zerglings in my natural. And you're going to be like, God friggin' damn it. So we're probably going to see Protoss players, maybe even Terran players sometimes just immediately grab a worker and scout across the map against Zerg, or against any race really where they're worried about rushes. Proxy Reaper, Proxy 3Rex Reaper, Proxy Stargate, even PvP proxy builds. Like there's going to be just a lot of weird builds, and I think especially Protoss could struggle with that. Rotational symmetry also does create RNG spawn advantage, Captain Fail says. So what he means by that, he's saying that in chat, is if you spawn up here and your opponent spawns up here, you go, okay, I've got my natural, I've got my 3rd, I've got my 4th. Cool, these are nicely expanded. Where does your opponent expand to? Well, their natural kind of comes towards you. And if they want that nice 3rd that's in line, well, it's right next to your base. Oh, so they're forced into a different expansion pattern. 1, 2, 3 into the triangle. And on this map, I don't think it's too terrible because I think both 3rds are good. This has always been the biggest problem if you've got 1/3 that's clearly way better than the other. Because say this 3rd here is way better than this 3rd. This 3rd's like spread further apart. In the past, we've had problems because then if you're this guy, well, you don't want to take that 3rd because it's next to their base. But you don't want to take this 3rd because it's far away. It's shitty to defend. Because both of these 3rd bases are accessible and defensible, I am okay with the symmetry on this map. If anyone has a reason why that's not the case, shout it out in chat. I think the rotational symmetry, the spawn advantage or disadvantage, I think it's something you can play around for sure. For sure. Apparently, Blunt Reality says 16-bit also has 16 bases, and it's only a 2-player map. Yeah, it has a ton of it has a ton of bases as well. It has a ton of bases. They both have a ton of bases. Yeah. Because that was the other one I said was a macro. You said, isn't that technically worse? What I don't really know what you mean by worse. Like which one's worse? 16-bit because it's only got 2-player. I mean, on both these are both 1v1 maps. So you're only gonna have 2 players spawn on it. So I'm not sure what you mean. Clarify. What have we got, guys? Last map, Darkness Sanctuary. Wait. Oh, that was Darkness Sanctuary. Okay, so talking about this map a little bit more, guys. I don't know, man. It's just a big map. It's got some obstacles on it. It's got a watchtower in the middle. I like maps that don't have too many watchtowers, but one watchtower here, not a big deal. It's a big-ass map. I can't really tell what this terrain is. Are these just like little bits of high ground? I'm not really sure what these are. So we can zoom in. I think it's just like a pillar. A little high ground. But I don't know if this bit is, I don't know if that bit is something you can walk on or not. I think this is like water that you can't move in or something. It's like a pit. I'm not sure. Might be something you can just walk through. I'm not 100% sure on that. Either way, there's just some movement blockers. It's a big macro map. And I don't really have much to say about it. I mean, it's just huge. There's a huge area in the middle, but there's enough obstacles so that you're not constantly going to feel like you're swarmed. Nonetheless, with the ability to move in so many paths across this middle, I would be favoring a mobile composition for sure. I would absolutely be looking to control this map. If I've got a big melee composition, Charge.Archon heavy, I feel like I can set up good flanks. If I've got a big, you know, bio-focused army or a big Ling Bane-focused army, I can probably get big flanks. I'd have to see how it plays out with the actual sizes. There's a few destructible rocks like here. You can collapse the rock tower to defend your third. It looks like an okay map. Yeah, it looks like an okay map. Yeah, I can go test these in custom maps. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to do that a lot over the next 2 weeks, no doubt. And here we go. Yeah, I'm not going to sit there loading into each map, guys, for a video like this. It would take me way too long. And it would just be, you know, trying to scout everywhere while everything's in fog. It doesn't show up as well. But we'll actually play customs and actually get real information in the near future. So this map is Dreamcatcher. Obviously, you've got the Dreamcatcher there. Cute little design. Looks like you spawn here. Main, natural, third and fourth out in the middle. Main, natural, third and fourth. Now, what does this map remind me of? It reminds me a lot of Terraform. What's the more recent Terraform map, guys? What's the more recent Terraform map? I'm trying to remember what it was called. The maps that have like the spiraling patterns on them in the middle with the hedges, this kind of has the same sort of thing. We've got these paths. You can knock down these rocks to make the path shorter. I think those are also destructible rocks here. So the path initially is zhoop, zhoop, but obviously that can be lengthened. So if these both get taken down, you're like, oh, I've got to go all the way around, or I've got to take the rocks out all the way around. Your third and fourth get very exposed. Your main has a lot of space in it, which is nice for Terran players. Your fifth gets mega exposed, which is good. It makes it really hard to defend. Really hard to hang onto your bases. You've got to get out on the map and actually fight it. I like this map. You can walk through the rocks in the middle, says Nako. Ah, cool, you can. Okay. So why does it look... Oh, it's long grass. Okay, there's long grass, and this is just a rock feature. Okay, so you can actually walk through that. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, why would you have these as destructibles if you've got that blocking? Thanks, Nako. It's a choke, and you have to blow up the rocks to widen them? Oh, so there's a really narrow path. Okay, there's like a tiny path. Just this little road, you see? Ah, okay. Through the center of the Dreamcatcher. Okay, cool. Thanks. Thanks, Nako. So that's what it is. As I said, this is a first impressions video. I haven't played the maps. This map I like. It's very aggression focused though, and these are the sort of maps which people do get frustrated with because they often feel like they get forced out. Sorry guys, I'm so bad at doing this. They feel like they get forced out of it. If you get on the defensive and you're trying to defend this third, it's very easy. Like it's very awkward trying to get out to say like siege tank pushes or any sort of siege push, lurkers. And it's very hard to kind of cover both chokes because your opponent often, when they get in that advantageous position, it's hard to spot their army rotations between different angles and kind of getting between your bases. So often it's about trying to get into the middle of the map and contest this area because whoever controls the Dreamcatcher can strike into their opponent's expansions. They can strike into the third and fourth. They can easily send off parties to the fifth and sixth. So if you control this area, usually you control the gameplay. Very movement focused, very action packed maps, these ones. I like it. Gold bases are both very exposed as well up here in the top side. Only blue expansion down in the bottom left. I like this map. I actually think it'll make good games. Looks good. Awesome, guys. All right, those are my first thoughts. Nothing too enlightening here, really. Give me a week or two, I'll actually have thoughts on these maps that are deep and meaningful. People will probably say, why didn't you talk about this map in Zerg vs Terran? Why didn't you talk about this map in Protoss vs Terran, etc.? I play every matchup, every race. If I went through every map by every matchup, this would be an hour and 45-minute long video of theory crafting. And I would hurt myself because I would get so frustrated trying to think through every possible scenario. Once we've actually played on the maps and figured them out in a fun kind of organic setting, I'll have a lot of things to say. So if you guys are still interested, definitely we might do a follow-up video in 2 weeks when these maps actually drop onto ladder. So yeah, stay tuned. I'm going to keep testing them out. We'll see if there's any changes to the maps. Sometimes Blizzard get feedback. They change which maps they put in. There's been a bit of outcry over this map pool. I don't necessarily agree with it just yet, but I never do. I always wait until I actually play on maps and really encounter the issues before I get into deeply criticizing them. Interloper, Imperfection says, Interloper was the last map that was like this last one. Yes, 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 Interloper. It reminds me of Interloper and Terraform. Thank you very much, Imperfection. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Good night. Guys, I'm not going anywhere. I was saying goodbye to YouTube.